Show. I'm CEO of Nutritional Frontiers, and welcome back. This is officially still the Jamie and Joe Show.
Sure is.
So I'm the host. Here's the co-host, the one and only Joe Messino. Welcome back, Joe. You looking good?
Looking good?
Yeah, it must be springtime.
Spring's coming, yeah.
It's hard to tell here in Pittsburgh, PA. We got some snow going on today.
All weekend.
But we know you're going to warm us right up here because we've been hearing so much about the March focus, right? Yep. Everyone wants to get fit the springtime, and summer's right around the corner. But I know you like to put a little different spin on things, so I'll let you take it, and I'll just take my notes as I did during our training on Friday.
Well, I know you have a lot to add to this, and you know what? The March focus that we decided on months ago was going to be, fitness, right after the winter and after the detoxing and getting everybody back in shape. And it just that the more I kept looking at the product line, I kept thinking to myself, you know what? This isn't just for working out or fitness. This is for life. This is probably our most important anti-aging mixture of products.
Yeah, they say the number one, if you want to look at one thing, if somebody's aging, it's a loss of muscle, right?
Loss of muscle. And right behind that is the brain, right? Loss of brain power.
And so I think when you look at athletes in particular, fitness people, football players, doesn't matter, soccer, bodybuilders, fitness athletes, when you look at, there's always lead the pack, right? And their goal is always to help with endurance, strength, recovery, muscle. And I think when you start to, apply that to maybe somebody's got a debilitating disease, right?
Exactly.
Maybe they have cancer. Maybe they have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. Maybe they have osteoarthritis or degeneration where they can't function properly. And you start to see that sarcopenia, that loss of muscle, right? That's one of the first signs we see of aging. And one of the things where someone can age very rapidly, right?
Yeah.
And we were lucky enough to get some research shared by the GOAT last week, who cited some of Dr. Jeff Bland's research going back 20 years ago, where we always thought like in the 50s, maybe 60s, about when you stop putting muscle and you start to now break down, right? But what they found is into the 90s, you can still have an anabolic effect, muscle-producing effect. So that's the exciting part, is that it's never too late to start. And you're never done, right?
Yeah,
it's a lifelong process. That's the part that I'm real excited about. So I'm really excited to hear it again because it's very inspiring to know that you have control over the aging process, right?
You do. And as I said, it's about performance, or is it age management? Those are so interchangeable. And, you mentioned, a debilitating disease. Well, what if it was a surgery? Okay, that's a debilitating disease.
Yeah, even an injury, right?
Injury,
coming back
surgeries,
for an injury.
All of those things have a profound effect on the body.
I just saw the basketball player, felt so bad for him from Villanova. He tore the Achilles tendon. As the team made the Final Four. About somebody recovering, that's a younger athlete recovering from an injury like that, right? Same goals.
I'm going to put a few things up here on the screen because we can talk about these. If you look at this list, Jamie, instant energy, great stamina, endurance, faster recovery, cardiovascular output, and oxygen utilization. Now, you can look at that from an athletic standpoint, right? But you can also look at that from an aging standpoint, right? Because every one of those things will decline as you age if you don't do something about it.
I look at aging, performance, sexual performance, recovery. I mean, there's all these things. The cells it's interesting, right? Because depending on what the goal is, you can apply it accordingly. And I'm thinking back to Dr. Lisa Coach's incredible presentation about the mitochondrial, of the cell where all the energy is generated and burned.
Right.
And we're so focused on the external sometimes. I love how you're going internal on this.
You got to go internal because everything starts from the inside out. So one of the focus products for March is our Supercreatine. And I'm going as far as calling it maybe our premier anti-aging formula. And we've never really done that before, said that about this product. It was always on the athletic side, but boy, there's just so much more to it. And it's led by what? A PRT, of course, right?
Well, we love the patented research trademarked ingredients because those all come with incredible research for safety and efficacy. and none more important than, of course, the creatine.
Yes.
Because we know creatine monohydrate gets rapidly converted into creatinine, a byproduct, in the presence of an acidic environment, a la the body.
That's right.
So I know from reading the book on Crealkaline, all the research show that the ingredient, the Crealkaline, actually is a buffered form of creatine that does not NOT get converted into creatinine. So what a huge advantage.
Oh, huge advantage. And this is as far, the people have been using creatine, as you know, in the sports industry for a long time. But they haven't been, this is something that, as you mentioned, pH, less acidic. I mean, that's across the board in your lifestyle. That has to be there. The buffering, of the creatine, turning it into Crealkaline is what prevents the process of it converting.
Yeah, Dr. Jeff Golini, he's the chief science officer at All American Pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
He showed that when you bring the pH up to 12.9 and buffer it, right, and you keep it in with that esterified fatty acid, you have no conversion to creatinine, which is incredible.
It's incredible. So you have better absorption, and then, how about that? No water retention, no bloating, because those were some of the byproducts of front-loading that creatine, right?
What they proved with the Crealkaline is 10 times more bioavailable than creatine monohydrate.
Right.
Therefore, which would normally require 15 grams of creatine, only requires 1,500 milligrams of the Crealkaline.
That's huge. So, clinical trials. When you have a patented, research, trademarked ingredient, then you usually have the science and the studies to go with it. So I brought up a few. This one was at a single center, and it was randomized. It was crossover. And, they were testing the bioequivalence and bioavailability, right, of 5 grams, equal amounts of creatine monohydrate, the one you mentioned, and 5 grams of Crealkaline. In a single dose for healthy volunteers under fasting conditions. So that's pretty specific. This was at the Greenberg Medical Center. The conclusion, well, they had better absorption. That's what we were just talking about. Noticeably less, if any, creatinine levels.
And people out there listening, if you are into functional medicine, maybe you're a healthcare professional, maybe you're a patient, maybe you're just listening. Either way, you may have seen the word creatinine before if you had your blood work done.
Right.
Because that's normally a test of the function of the kidneys.
Yes, exactly. And we're seeing a lot more issues with kidney these days, right? A lot of people coming into the wellness center
absolutely,
all the time. Second clinical trial, this one was even more impressive. So they have 24 healthy male soccer players. So these guys are in great shape. And they divided them into just 2 groups, Crealkaline and creatine monohydrate. This was a 4-month study.
That. It's a good,
nice.
For a study purpose.
Yes.
That's a nice, lengthy study.
Because we know that 3 months is when a lot of things happen in the body as far as turnover on cellular production. So they did a lot of different tests, a lot of different measurements, and it outperformed creatine in every single category. Most significant, this is something we don't talk about very much, but boy, we are now. VO2 max. Does everybody out there know what VO2 max stands for?
Well, Joe, I'm just going to go back in time, but when I was getting my certification through the highest level of personal training, the American College of Sports Medicine, part of that certification program was a live training, right? And you had to do the VO2 max on somebody, which was maximum volume intake and output, right?
Of oxygen.
Yeah. Because the stronger the individual, the more endurance they had, the more cardiovascular output, the more their VO2 max was. They can handle more.
Yes, exactly. It's your ability to utilize the oxygen you take in, right? The maximum rate that your body is able to use during physical performance. And that could be any physical performance, right?
Think about somebody who just starts working out, they're out of breath a lot quicker, where somebody who is an elite athlete catches that second wind, they can really pump out the oxygen.
That's second wind is a great example. And again, we go back to that first slide. The first thing was energy, right? Always. And the greater the VO2 max, the more oxygen you can consume, which equals increased energy. Now, we didn't stop there. We've got a third trial that we have.
Not 1.
Not 2.
But 3. I love it.
This is at the Bioceuticals Research and Development Analytical Laboratory in Montana. I didn't even know they had one of those in Montana.
I actually visited the Bioceuticals Research and Development Lab in Montana, run by Dr. Jeff Galini.
Nice. This one, Crealkaline increased energy levels 118%. Now, for
10% would be great.
That is, I was just going to say, a 10% change is significant. Okay, statistically significant. This is 10 times that.
It's incredible.
Endurance and stamina, 110, almost 108%. And physical well-being. Now, this I thought was interesting, right? The rest of them are actual physical measurements. This one is more of a mental measurement because the stronger you feel, right, the better your well-being will be.
I love it. Incredible results at the research lab. And, they've done them on many different types of people over the last 25, 30 years. That's what I love.
So we didn't stop there because supercreatine is not just one ingredient. We have a great supporting cast.
Well, that's what I love about this formula. There are a lot of creatine products on the market. You can even find the Crealkaline by itself.
Yes.
However, at Nutritional Frontiers, we like a more comprehensive approach.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of synergy of the ingredients together. Look at L-glutamine as the base in this formula. L-glutamine is a really important amino acid, and it encompasses over 70% of the amino acids in your muscle. And think about it as an overdraft protection, so your muscle doesn't break down.
Don't you like this term, muscle wasting?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that because that's what we don't want. Okay, and glutamine is we have it in multiple formulas, right? We talk about it for its repair factor. Well, none better than in the muscles. This is also important, L-carnitine. Why? Well, we need to get energy from every single source, and nothing pulls it out of the fatty acids in the blood more than L-carnitine.
Yeah, and L-carnitine is used a lot for weight loss or fat burning because it actually has the ability to pull those fatty acids out of the blood and convert them right to ATP, which is the preferred fuel source of muscle.
Absolutely. Oh, there it is. Damn mighty good. DMG. Of course it's in there. Why? Because we need to increase oxygen utilization.
Yeah, I think the best part of DMG is the ability to utilize oxygen and inhibit lactic acid production.
Yes.
See, that burn gets prolonged or, pushed back a little bit further.
Chromium and vanadium. Two trace minerals that are so important from a completely different standpoint. That's what makes this formula amazing. So we have fatty acids, right? We have DMG. We're pulling energy from both. We're pulling energy from the muscles. And now from sugar, glucose.
2 cell volumizers, chromium, vanadium. I've had a lot of experience with these 2 ingredients going back to the 1990s.
Yes.
They are very effective at making your cells more sensitive to insulin and having the ability for those glucose transport molecules to get the sugar, the carbohydrates, through the cell inside the mitochondria. They can be burned for energy. If you don't have these minerals, if you're already deficient, if you're a diabetic or pre-diabetic, and you don't have these minerals or you're very low in these minerals, usually you're suffering more from fatigue and weight gain because you can't get the nutrients to be burned properly.
Right.
If you think about the mitochondria, the cell like a fireplace, right? You can bring the firewood in the house, but if it's not getting in the fireplace, it doesn't burn. Exactly. And you can keep bringing the wood in. What the vanadium and the chromium do is open up the doors to the mitochondria so that firewood or in the body, the carbohydrates can get inside the cell and be burned for energy. Exactly. So people notice improved weight loss, improved energy, improved muscle glycogen storage, so you have better pumps and better endurance for your exercise.
This is probably one of those most overlooked factors when it comes to insulin resistance, is the inability of these 2 trace minerals to do their job because they're so depleted.
Great cell volumizers, yeah.
R-alpha lipoic acid. Wow, one of the best free radical scavengers. Remember early on we said that what's going to happen if that tissue degrades, it's free radical damage. So we've got a great
and it cleans some of the free radical damage is caused by sugar corrosion.
Yes.
So if you're not efficient at bringing the sugar inside the cells and the sugar sits in the blood too long, what it does is eventually it starts attaching to the nerve endings.
Mm.
So these are when you have challenges with things like diabetic neuropathies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the ALA at a high enough dosage will actually polish off that sugar, transport it inside the cell, and help to prevent the neuropathies.
And also glycation, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what you were describing.
Yeah, they call it the advanced glycated end products, AGE. So that's where the sugar sits there too long and starts, really corroding or rusting the end of your cells. Not a good thing.
No, and the great thing about alpha lipoic acid, it's both water and fat soluble, so it can affect the entire cell, outer and inner layers. Taurine, right? This is an interesting addition to this. Okay, why? Well, it's shown that specifically during exercise, it helps to reduce oxidative stress. Tissue.
Yeah, another cell volumizer. Wow. I like these ingredients together. They help transport the nutrients to the right place. They help reduce some of the stress incorporated by sugar and exercise. And, the synergy you get of all these nutrients together is fantastic.
So, now, again, another product on the list for March, okay, for performance, Power Fuel. And I'll tell you what, now we have a dynamic to this is Batman and Robin here, okay? Super Creatine and Power Fuel. And Power Fuel has gone through, we've talked about it, a little bit of a change over the last year. But boy, what a difference it has made. Now, the basis to this is, of course, D-ribose at the correct level of 5 grams. Why? Because that is the single most easily converted sugar to energy. Once it's in your system, Jamie, it goes right into ATP. It doesn't waste around.
Yeah, I look at the super creatine as all the ingredients that help your cells open up, get the nutrients in, and now the power fuel are some of the key nutrients you need inside the cell.
That's right.
So that's why they work hand in hand together. Great synergy, a 1-2 punch of the super creatine and the power fuel. You can use them together pre or post activity.
Yes.
And the days you're not, days off, take 1 scoop.
Right. Exactly. I'm going to bring up the list of ingredients here so we can talk about them.
Well, I see a couple of the usual suspects, CoQ10, L-carnitine, and DMG. So we mentioned L-carnitine before, the ability to transport fatty acids from the blood inside the cell to be burned as ATP. And DMG, great to utilize oxygen. And most importantly, I remember a young woman came into the wellness center and she was suffering from fibromyalgia, tense, sore, painful muscle. And Mikey G recommended the Power Fuel. She came back in that week and said, "Where's my magic powder?" She said in 1 day, she got results with the Power Fuel. Now, we're not making any claims here.
Right.
We're just citing what we were told by a patient that came into the wellness center. And I think it's a unique combination, right? Her muscles were starving, right?
Yes.
They were building up too much lactic acid, and there was nothing to inhibit the buildup or to help with the breakdown. So now you get the L-carnitine to pull the acid out and to be burned. You have the DMG to inhibit. And then malic acid, what an ingredient.
Well, yeah, these 4 ingredients here, I mean, they're all, and this is like what you were just talking about, they enhance recovery. Mm-hmm. And many times it's not the exercise or the event, it's what happens after it, right?
Absolutely.
So malic acid, rhodiola, bromelain, and protease all enhance recovery, promote healing.
And then these 6 mineral electrolytes, made famous, of course, by Gatorade.
Yeah.
And the concept was right because if your electrolytes are out of balance, you will dehydrate. Mm-hmm. You will suffer with cramping. You will suffer with pain and lack of performance. And in fact, Gatorade actually was invented at the University of Florida because they're playing down there in the swamp,
right,
at their home field. And the humidity was so high and the heat was so high, the cramping was at such a high level. So when that formula was made back in the 60s, excellent. Now we know with new technology and research that you need the electrolytes, but you don't need some of the other things you don't want in there.
That's right.
But when you have the electrolytes in proper balance, you improve endurance and you inhibit things like cramping and muscle aches.
Right, because then you're taking care of the minerals that are depleted, right, through sweat, and also the liquid, the preventing of dehydration. And then to round it off, okay, just when you thought it was the most complete formula,
we did not stop there.
We didn't stop there. Round it off with arginine and citrulline. Why? Well, now we know the importance of nitric oxide production.
Yeah, so this helps the heart and all the muscle throughout the body. Nitric oxide is a great, has a great ability to improve blood flow, right? When nitric oxide has improved the production of it. So it's great for blood flow, circulation, and endurance.
Absolutely. Okay, now we got a supporting cast. Okay?
So we have Supercreatine, Power Fuel.
Yep.
And now the BCAAs, the branched chain amino
acids. Okay, this is a great formula to add to this. Why? It's just so synergistic. 3 grams of leucine. Now, leucine we know is a great amino acid, but where do you see it in a 3-gram dosage like that?
You don't, except in a formula like this. So the key branch chains are leucine, isoleucine, and valine, right? Mm-hmm. And we incorporate these in there with, of course, glutamine. So that's why it's a 4-to-1 ratio. And then we added things like citrulline in there.
Absolutely. This is just an amazing formula. Now, early on, we talked about muscle being one of the first areas you see accelerated aging. The other one is the brain. And this long-standing anti-aging formula is making a reappearance, and that's our Pro Purples. And I love it. The addition, of course, this went through a nice enhancement as well, right?
We upgraded the formulation. We love the results we were getting. We have 4 different colors. We have the greens, reds, oranges, and purples. And each one has their own specific function. However, there is overlap.
Yeah.
They're all fruit and veggie based. Mm-hmm. And with the purples, we want to find the 20 most exotic berries on the planet that have all been proven to help with healthy aging because they work at the DNA cellular level.
Yes.
And that was the whole goal with the purple. So we think of aging, we think, what's the first thing to go?
The brain.
We got the brain, the eyes, the heart, circulation, and the skin, of course. Because if you think about healthy aging, the skin's always important, the brain, the eyes, and the heart. And that was really the goal with the Pro Purples. Mm-hmm. And just in general, when you're eating, I know now a hot, trendy thing is the rainbow diet. Well, we've been saying that for years.
Yeah.
So the more colorful the food, the better nutrient content, because where all those phytonutrients, the plant nutrients lie, is in those deep, dark colors.
That's right.
So reds, oranges, purples, greens, so important. And for the purples, we want to really go after the exotic berries.
Yeah, they're all in there. Mangosteen, goji, acai, they're all there. You name it, it's in there. And then we put this is one of the additions that you made to this formula in the last year, and I thought it was excellent. We talked about PQQ for a long time. It's in the quinone family, which is like ubiquinone, the same basic general category as CoQ10, but it's a lot more powerful. It's a lot more concentrated, and it helps to support, as you mentioned earlier, the mitochondria, right? Cognitive function. It's an anti-inflammatory. This one, a great one, alpha GPC, a glycerol phosphorylcholine. Now, this supports cognition and what goes first with the brain, right?
And it's very helpful if you have an overactive mind. Maybe some people have hypertension, hyperactivity, you have ADD, ADHD, so you tend to be a little more high-strung, and that could be affecting things like blood pressure.
Sure.
It can be affecting things like mood or focus or attention. It goes the whole gamut because everyone's a little bit different, right?
Absolutely.
But the GPC we find is very calming for the brain and the mind without making you tired.
And that's the most important part, because we're not looking at stimulants, we're not looking at sedatives, we're looking at cellular enhancement, right? Huperzine A, great herb used for centuries in the traditional Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine. So great for cognition and memory. And then one of my favorite ingredients, L-carnosine.
Not to be confused with his cousin, L-carnitine.
That's right.
L-carnosine. So what's the difference?
The difference is L-carnosine is an amazing amino acid that has been shown in actual human clinical trials to extend the life of the cell. Now, we know that if a cell dies too early, it's called apoptosis. We know if it mutates, it's called senescence. We don't want either one of those. We want that cell to replicate 120 times the way it was designed to. And one of the things that's going to help that happen is L-carnosine.
Excellent also for the eyes. Dr. Wan, one of his protocols for years for eye floaters, because the eyes are very sensitive to oxidative stress.
Yes.
They are the one tissue that's the furthest outside the body, it's inside the body. So very sensitive, and then the eyes right there with the brain. So important connection.
Wait, go back, say that again. It's the tissue that's the furthest outside of the body that's still inside the body. I've never heard it described that way.
That? You learn something new every day. Isn't that pretty cool?
It is. And if you think about it,
you're highly reactive,
exposed,
and highly sensitive to oxidative stress.
Yes.
Right? And I think it's one of the things we take for granted the most is our vision. Mm-hmm. Close your eyes for a minute or 10 minutes, or how about an entire day? Most people couldn't do it. So next time you see someone that's vision impaired, have a little empathy.
Yeah. Yeah, see, this is why it's the Jamie and Joe show, folks, because we didn't rehearse this. This is off the cuff.
I've been practicing all weekend. I don't know what this guy was doing, but man, I taking notes and practicing.
You know where that saying "off the cuff" comes from?
No, I do not. And I'm going to learn something.
All right. Well, you go back a few years, old days, speech makers, they didn't have teleprompters, but their cuffs and their collars were usually made of paper. And they would put notes on their cuffs.
Oh, man.
And that phrase, off the cuff, is from there.
There we go.
Resveratrol. Been around. We know it's a great nutrient for extending the life of the cell as well. Clinical trials, the sirtuin-1 gene, Jamie, and the telomeres on our DNA are protected by resveratrol.
Very interesting. I love the formulation. What an incredible update.
And then...
Activin.
We didn't stop there. It was Activin. Grapeseed. What is it? It's a PRT, a patented research trademarked
I think the problem with Activin is enough people don't know about it.
Yeah.
Over 90 published studies,
yes,
including its antioxidant capacity against vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin E by themselves. And then they tested against A, C, and E together, and it still outperformed them. So Activin, incredible grapeseed extract. Strong antioxidant, great for everything from circulation to cellular health, and we utilize it in the Pearl Purples.
Absolutely, and the integrity of the artery walls and vessels, there's nothing better. So round it all off, of course, with, and it's, we're going to round it off with Super Shake, folks, but only the vanilla, okay? Because why? Well, we got all these other great flavors in these other formulas, and what better to pair it with than good old vanilla? So we're not worried about flavor fatigue on this one, but our non-GMO vegan, 3 vegetable source protein.
This is a trademark name, Super Shake. I love that name, don't you?
Yeah, I sure do.
Yeah, so Super Shake is a non-GMO, non-soy vegan protein.
Yeah.
It combines a very unique blend of 3 types of vegetable proteins with MCT oil, which are good fats, medium-chain triglycerides, and fibersol.
Right. So you have all the macronutrients that you need. One of the things many of those, other protein powders out there, they don't have that. They don't have the fiber. They don't have the MCT.
No, mostly they have is a lot of lactose from milk. Yeah. They also contain things like artificial flavorings, colorings, and dyes, added sugars. We don't do that with Super Shake and Nutritional Frontiers.
No, and it's important to have the 3 types of protein.
A great meal would be to do the purples with the Super Shake after you work out, and before the workout, you can do the Super Creatine, the Power Fuel. Brands change. You can do either way.
You can, and you can mix and match them.
Yeah.
You have them all in your bag and just mix and match them for a couple of months. But again, it goes back to, look, it's not just performance, but it is, because performance is about life, right? We want to perform, be vital, be strong, all the way up until that little bit of your life left where it's...
Well, I think the goal is always the same, right? Your training may change, your body may change, your lifestyle may change, but the goal is always to keep your body strong, help it recover, keep it lean, give the muscle the energy it needs without anything extra, and support your body's metabolic rate so that you'll become a fat-burning machine. And that includes building energy, right?
Exactly.
Building the energy and the strength up, burning the fat, and then also recovering properly. It's a very simple formula, however, not always easy.
Simple, but not easy. Yep, that rounds it off. That's our March focus. Folks, everybody can benefit from this. Athletes, weekend athletes, and just somebody who's trying to stay ahead of the curve and kind of, hold off that aging process.
Well, take it from 2 people who know about that. So thanks, Joe. That was an incredible recap on the March focus. That brings us to the end of the first quarter 2022. So I look forward to seeing everyone at future events next month. We're excited. Thanks so much for all the support. Have a great week, and God